I used to bring my rideshare driver a cup of coffee after every late shift. Nothing special. Just a small, ordinary kindness at the end of a long night. I thought it didn't mean much. Until one night. He didn't drive me home. Instead, he locked the doors, pulled into an empty, dark parking lot, and said quietly, "You can't go home tonight. Someone's been watching you." Then he told me my neighbor had been talking about my house, my routine, the exact nights I worked late, and what he planned to do next. If I hadn't handed that driver a cup of coffee weeks earlier, I would have never known. And I might not be alive today. My name is Margaret Lewis, and I was 65 years old when my life quietly unraveled. My husband passed away after a brief illness, and the life insurance barely covered the funeral. After more than 40 years of marriage, I found myself alone in our modest home in Evergreen, Washington, staring at rooms that suddenly felt too large and too quiet. I had spent most of my adult life working in education administration. I thought retirement would be peaceful. Instead, it felt terrifying. My pension, once enough, now felt thin. For the first time since my 20s, I had to look for work. That's how I ended up on the evening shift at North Valley Health Services, 3 nights a week, processing billing records in the administrative basement. It wasn't meaningful work, but it gave my days structure. It kept my thoughts from drifting back to the empty chair at my kitchen table. My shift ended at 11:45 p.m. At least, it used to. In early October, the city announced budget cuts. The last night bus now left at 11 o'clock, nearly an hour before my shift ended. I couldn't afford to leave early and lose the pay, so I did what my daughter had suggested weeks before. I downloaded a rideshare app. That decision changed everything. The first night Daniel picked me up, I hesitated before getting into his dark blue sedan. It was nearly midnight, the staff parking lot was poorly lit, and I was alone. But his profile showed a perfect rating, and something about his calm voice made me feel safe. "Long night?" he asked as I buckled my seatbelt. "Every night," I replied. The drive home took about 15 minutes. We talked about simple things: the weather, road construction, how tired we both were. Nothing personal. But somehow, Daniel kept being the one who picked me up. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, week after week. Eventually, the conversations deepened. Daniel had lost his job when a distribution center shut down. His marriage collapsed under the weight of financial stress. His adult son barely spoke to him anymore. Driving nights paid better, even if it meant exhaustion. I recognized the look in his eyes. It was the same one I saw in the mirror every morning. In November, without really thinking about it, I brought him a cup of coffee from the hospital cafeteria. It wasn't good coffee. Just hot. He stared at it like I'd handed him something rare. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "I know," I replied. "But it helps." After that, it became routine. Coffee. Sometimes hot chocolate. Sometimes just quiet conversation. Those 15-minute rides became the safest part of my week. I didn't realize then how closely Daniel was listening. Or why. Everything changed on a cold Monday night in mid-December. Daniel was tense. His hands gripped the steering wheel too tightly. He kept checking the rearview mirror. Halfway home, he turned the wrong way. "This isn't my street," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need you to stay calm," he replied. "And I need you to listen carefully." My heart started racing. He pulled into the empty parking lot of a closed grocery store and turned off the engine. Under the harsh glow of security lights, his face looked older than usual. "I've picked up your neighbor," he said quietly. "More than once. Always late. Always drunk." He told me the man talked on the phone during the rides about my address, my work schedule, the nights my house was empty. Then Daniel said the words that drained the color from my face. "Tonight, before I picked you up, he tried your front door." Daniel had driven past my street earlier that night. He'd seen the man's truck parked outside my house. Engine running. Lights off. Watching. I felt sick. Daniel had kept notes. Dates. Times. Even audio recordings, something he started doing after a traumatic incident years earlier involving his own family. We went straight to the police. What they uncovered shocked everyone. The neighbor worked nights at the same medical facility as me. He had access to patient records. Files had gone missing for months. Insurance fraud totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had unknowingly been part of an internal audit team, and he believed I was getting close to exposing him. By morning, he was arrested. I stayed under protective watch for several days. I couldn't sleep. I jumped at every sound. A place that once felt like home no longer felt safe. Daniel testified. His recordings became key evidence. The man was sentenced to federal prison. Eventually, life settled into something new. I went back to work. I still took rides home at night, but I never sat in the back seat again. Daniel and I became friends, not driver and passenger, but two people who had shown up for each other when it mattered. Months later, his estranged son reached out. Healing began in ways neither of us expected. All because of a cup of coffee. I think about that often now. How kindness doesn't announce itself. How small gestures ripple outward in ways we may never fully understand. I'm still working nights. Still living in the same house. But I'm not invisible anymore. And I will never underestimate the power of seeing another human being again.